Have you ever wondered why your path has never looked like everyone else's? Why every setback seems strangely designed, every betrayal strangely timed, every challenge impossibly heavy? What if the chaos wasn't random? What if from the moment you arrived, unseen forces were watching, waiting, testing? While others chased comfort, you were pushed through fire. While others followed maps, you were forced to create your own. The truth is unsettling. Ordinary people are not prepared. Extraordinary destinies. Some are shaped by circumstances, others are forged by them. Tonight, you will discover why your struggles may have been preparing you for an inheritance few can comprehend. Have you ever felt like you were living inside a story that nobody else could understand? A story where the rules seemed different for you. While others moved through life with certainty, you often found yourself questioning everything. The people around you appeared comfortable with ordinary answers, but something inside you kept searching for something more. It was never about arrogance. It was never about believing you were better than anyone else. It was the strange feeling that your life was connected to something larger, something hidden beyond what most people could see. From a young age, there may have been moments that made no sense at the time, situations that seemed unfair, doors that closed without warning, opportunities that slipped away just when you thought they were within reach. You watched others receive what appeared to come naturally while you struggled through obstacles that seemed unnecessary. It felt as though life was demanding more from you than from everyone else. Every challenge arrived with another challenge behind it. Every victory seemed to require 10 times the effort. What if those experiences were not random? What if the discomfort you felt was the result of being unable to fit inside a role that was never meant for you? Imagine a person born into a destiny they do not yet understand. They grow up believing they are ordinary because nobody tells them otherwise. Yet everything around them quietly pushes them toward growth. Every setback becomes a lesson. Every disappointment becomes preparation. Every loss becomes a hidden teacher. Many people spend their lives chasing acceptance. They adjust themselves to fit into systems, expectations, and labels created by others. They become what society wants them to become, but there are some individuals who never fully succeed at blending in. No matter how hard they try, there is always a sense of separation. They can stand in a crowded room and still feel different. They can achieve success and still feel incomplete. They can follow every rule and still hear a voice inside asking, "Is this really all there is?" That feeling is not weakness, it is not confusion. It is often the first sign of awakening. The world teaches people to ignore their instincts, silence their curiosity, and accept limitations without question. Yet some minds refuse to stay asleep. Some spirits continue searching long after everyone else has stopped asking questions. Those individuals are often misunderstood because they are pursuing answers others cannot see. Think about the hardships that shaped you, the betrayals that forced you to become stronger, the failures that taught you resilience, the loneliness that taught you self-reliance. At the time, each experience felt like punishment. Looking back, you may notice that every difficult season left you with something valuable. You gained wisdom, you gained awareness, you gained strength. The pressure that threatened to break you also revealed abilities you never knew existed. Most people discover who they are by following familiar paths. Others discover themselves by being pushed away from those paths. When life refuses to let you settle, it is often because something greater is demanding your attention. Comfort can be a prison when it keeps people from reaching their potential. Struggle, although painful, often becomes the force that unlocks hidden power. There is a reason certain dreams refuse to leave your mind. There is a reason certain ambitions continue calling your name despite obstacles and doubt. Deep within every person exists a sense of purpose waiting to be recognized. Some ignore it for a lifetime, others spend years running from it. But eventually the call becomes impossible to avoid. The truth is that extraordinary journeys rarely begin with certainty. They begin with questions, they begin with discomfort, they begin with the feeling that something important is missing. Before anyone discovers their true potential, they must first recognize that they were never meant to remain where they started. Before they can step into a greater future, they must understand why the ordinary life they tried to accept never felt like home. There are battles that everyone can see, and then there are battles that happen in complete silence. The world notices achievements, trophies, promotions, victories, and milestones. People celebrate the outcome, but they rarely understand the process. They do not see the nights of uncertainty, the moments of self-doubt, the sacrifices made behind closed doors, or the countless times a person nearly gave up. Some of the most important training in life happens when nobody is watching. Imagine being prepared for something important without even realizing it. Every challenge arrives disguised as an inconvenience. Every obstacle appears to be a setback. Every disappointment feels like an attack on your dreams. Yet hidden inside each experience is a lesson that cannot be learned any other way. Strength is not developed during moments of comfort. Courage is not built when everything is easy. Wisdom is not gained when life always goes according to plan. Many people spend years asking why certain difficulties seem to follow them. They wonder why they face repeated struggles while others appear to move forward effortlessly. They compare their lives to those around them and assume something must be wrong. But comparison often hides the truth. Every person is being prepared for a different journey. The weight placed upon someone's shoulders is often connected to the responsibility they are destined to carry later. Think about every setback that forced you to adapt. There were moments when your plans collapsed without warning, was broken. Times when opportunities disappeared just when you believed success was within reach. Those experiences may have seemed cruel, but they taught skills that comfort never could. They taught patience when results were delayed. They taught resilience when circumstances became difficult. They taught determination when quitting seemed easier than continuing. Life has a strange way of training people through resistance. A muscle grows stronger when it faces pressure. A blade becomes sharp through friction. A diamond forms under immense force. Human character develops in much the same way. The qualities that define greatness are usually born from adversity. Confidence comes from overcoming fear. Discipline comes from resisting temptation. Leadership comes from learning how to navigate uncertainty. Some lessons arrive through failure. Society often treats failure as something embarrassing, something to avoid at all costs. Yet failure is one of the greatest teachers ever known. Every mistake reveals information. Every unsuccessful attempt exposes weaknesses that can be strengthened. Every fall creates an opportunity to rise with greater knowledge than before. The people who eventually achieve remarkable things are rarely those who avoided failure. More often, they are the ones who learned how to use failure as fuel. Other lessons arrive through loneliness. There are seasons when support seems absent, when encouragement becomes scarce, and when the journey feels isolating. During those periods, many people discover who they truly are. Without constant validation from others, they learn to trust their own judgment. Without approval from the crowd, they learn to stand on their own convictions. Loneliness can become a powerful classroom for self-discovery. Then there are lessons that arrive through betrayal. Few experiences hurt more than realizing someone you trusted did not value your loyalty. The pain can feel overwhelming, yet betrayal often shows awareness. It teaches discernment. It reveals the importance of boundaries. It helps people recognize the difference between genuine support and temporary convenience. While betrayal may leave scars, it can also leave wisdom. What makes these trials unique is that they rarely announce their purpose. When you are living through them, they simply feel unfair. You do not receive an explanation. You do not receive a roadmap. You only receive the challenge. The meaning often becomes clear much later, after enough time has passed to reveal the connection between past struggles and present strength. Looking back, many people realize that the moments they once wished to erase became the foundation of their growth. The obstacles they hated taught them perseverance. The failures they feared taught them humility. The hardships they resisted taught them endurance. What felt like punishment was often preparation. What seemed like rejection was often redirection. What appeared to be an ending was often the beginning of a transformation they could not yet understand. Every trial leaves behind something valuable for those willing to learn from it. Every challenge develops a quality that will be needed later. Every difficult chapter adds another layer of strength, awareness, and character. The hidden tests were never designed to destroy you. They were shaping someone capable of carrying a future far greater than the version of yourself that first entered the struggle. For most of your life, you may have believed that your greatest potential was something distant, something waiting somewhere in the future. You imagined that one day a special opportunity would arrive, a perfect moment would appear, or someone would finally recognize your value and give you permission to become who you were meant to be. But awakening rarely happens that way. It does not arrive with applause. It does not come with an announcement. More often it begins quietly, deep within your mind, when you start seeing yourself differently than before. There comes a moment in every transformation when a person realizes they have been living beneath their capabilities, not because they lacked talent, not because they lacked intelligence that were never truly theirs. They listened to doubts repeated so often that those doubts began to sound like facts. They carried labels given to them by people who could only see a small part of who they were. Over time, they began to shrink their dreams to fit the expectations of others. The awakening begins when those expectations lose their power. It starts with a question, a simple but dangerous question. What if everything I believed about myself is incomplete? What if the weaknesses I focused on for years are only a fraction of the story? What if there are strengths within me that have remained hidden because I never gave them the chance to emerge? Most people never ask those questions. They become comfortable with familiar identities. Even if those identities limit them, they prefer certainty over possibility. But growth demands courage. It requires stepping beyond the boundaries of what feels familiar. It requires challenging assumptions that have shaped your life for years. Think about an eagle raised among creatures that never leave the ground. It might spend years believing it is incapable of flight. It sees others walking, so it walks. It sees others accepting limitations, so it accepts them too. Yet, the ability to soar was present from the beginning. The problem was never a lack of potential. The problem was a lack of awareness. Once that eagle discovers its wings, everything changes. The world it once knew becomes too small. Human beings experience a similar awakening. They spend years adapting to environments that reward conformity. They learn to stay quiet when they should speak. They learn to settle when they should strive. They learn to doubt themselves when they should trust their instincts. The result is a life lived far below their true capacity. Then something shifts. Sometimes it happens after a major failure. Sometimes it follows heartbreak, betrayal, loss, or disappointment. Sometimes it emerges during a period of deep reflection. Whatever the trigger may be, a realization begins to grow. You start recognizing patterns. You notice how often fear has influenced your decisions. You see how frequently you have asked others for validation before trusting yourself. Become aware of the invisible chains that have been restricting your progress. Awareness is powerful because it changes everything. Once you recognize a limitation as false, it becomes difficult to continue obeying it. Once you understand that fear has been controlling your choices, you begin questioning its authority. Once you see your own potential clearly, the excuses that once felt convincing lose their strength. This does not mean the journey becomes easy. Awakening is not the end of struggle. In many ways, it is the beginning of a new kind of challenge. The difference is that you are no longer fighting blindly. You are no longer moving through life without understanding your own value. You begin acting with purpose rather than hesitation. You begin making decisions based on vision rather than fear. The most remarkable discovery during this process is that the power you were searching for was never outside of you. It was not hidden in another person. It was not locked behind a specific achievement. It was not waiting for perfect circumstances. The strength, resilience, creativity, courage, and determination you needed were present all along. Life's challenges did not create those qualities. They revealed them. Every obstacle you survived proved your resilience. Every setback you overcame demonstrated your persistence. Every difficult season exposed abilities you never knew you possessed. The evidence has been there for years, scattered throughout your experience, waiting for you to notice it. As this realization grows stronger, something begins to change within you. The need for constant approval starts fading. The fear of failure loses some of its grip. The opinions of those who underestimated you become less important. You stop measuring yourself by where you started and begin focusing on where you are capable of going. The person who once questioned their worth starts recognizing the immense potential that has been quietly waiting beneath the surface, preparing for the moment it would finally be called into action. From the moment you entered the world, people began telling you who you were. Some did it with good intentions, others did it carelessly. A few did it because it benefited them to keep you small. Before you had the chance to discover your own identity, labels were already being attached to your name. You were told what was realistic, what was impossible, what was acceptable, and what was beyond your reach. Slowly, those opinions started forming the boundaries of your world. As children, we absorb information without questioning it. If enough people repeat something, we begin to believe it. If authority figures constantly emphasize our weaknesses, we start focusing on those weaknesses ourselves. If society rewards conformity, we learn to hide the parts of ourselves that seem different. Over time, a false identity begins to take shape. It may look real from the outside, but it is often built from expectations rather than truth. Many people spend decades living inside identities they never consciously chose. They become versions of themselves designed to satisfy family expectations, social standards, cultural pressures, or the opinions of strangers. They wear masks so often that eventually they forget they are wearing them. The performance becomes so familiar that it feels natural. The problem with a false identity is not that it immediately causes pain. In fact, it often provides temporary comfort. It allows people to fit in. It helps them avoid criticism. It creates the illusion of security. But beneath that comfort is a growing sense of dissatisfaction. Something feels incomplete. Something feels disconnected. No matter how much success they achieve, they cannot shake the feeling that they are living someone else's version of life. That feeling exists because authenticity cannot be replaced. A person can ignore their true nature for years, but they cannot erase it. Deep within every individual, a voice that continues speaking even when it is ignored. It whispers during moments of reflection. It appears during periods of frustration. It grows louder whenever a person settles for less than they know they are capable of becoming. Breaking free begins with awareness. You must first recognize the difference between who you are and who you were told to be. This is not always easy. Some beliefs become so deeply rooted that they feel inseparable from your personality. You may have spent years believing you were not intelligent enough, talented enough, confident enough, or worthy enough. You may have accepted limitations that originated from someone else's fears rather than your own reality. The challenge is that false beliefs often disguise themselves as facts. They present themselves as truth because they have been repeated for so long. Yet repetition does not create accuracy. A lie told 1,000 times remains a lie. The opinions people formed about you during moments when they barely understood themselves should never become the foundation of your future. Think about how many dreams have been abandoned because someone accepted another person's definition of their potential. Think about how many talents remain hidden because fear convinced people to stay invisible. Think about how many opportunities are missed because individuals continue viewing themselves through outdated stories created years ago. The moment you begin questioning those stories, change becomes possible. You start examining the assumptions that have controlled your decisions. You ask yourself whether certain fears genuinely belong to you or were inherited from others. You challenge the beliefs that have limited your growth. Slowly, the walls surrounding your identity begin to crack. The version of yourself created by expectation starts losing its influence. This process can feel uncomfortable because freedom always requires uncertainty. The familiar identity may have been restrictive, but at least it was predictable. Leaving it behind means stepping into unknown territory. It means accepting responsibility for defining yourself rather than allowing others to do it for you. Many people avoid this step because it demands courage. It is easier to remain trapped inside an old story than to write a new one. Yet every meaningful transformation requires a willingness to release what no longer serves you. You cannot fully become who you are meant to be while clinging to a version of yourself that was built from fear, doubt, and limitation. As the old identity begins to fade, something remarkable emerges. You discover strengths that were hidden beneath insecurity. You uncover confidence that had been buried beneath criticism. You reconnect with ambitions that were silenced by discouragement. The person beneath the labels starts becoming visible. For the first time, your decisions become guided by possibility instead of limitation. Your actions become aligned with your value rather than external approval. The need to constantly prove yourself begins disappearing because you are no longer seeking permission to exist as your authentic self. The chains forged from expectation, judgment, and fear start breaking apart, revealing a version of you that was never meant to live inside the boundaries created by other people's imagination. There comes a moment in every great transformation when a person stops asking why their life was difficult and starts asking what those difficulties were preparing them for. For years, pain may have seemed like an enemy. Every setback felt like a delay. Every obstacle appeared to stand between you and the life you wanted. But as your perspective changes, you begin to see something remarkable. The experiences that hurt you most often contain the lessons that strengthened you most. Many people spend their lives trying to escape pain. They view hardship as proof that something is wrong. They believe struggle means they are moving in the wrong direction. Yet history repeatedly shows the opposite. Some of the strongest, wisest, and most influential individuals were shaped by adversity. Their challenges did not destroy them. Their challenges developed them. What looked like misfortune became preparation. Pain has a unique ability to reveal character. When everything is comfortable, it is easy to believe you are strong. When circumstances become difficult, true strength is tested. It is during those moments of pressure that hidden qualities emerge. Courage appears when fear must be faced. Patience develops when progress is delayed. Resilience grows when quitting feels easier than continuing. Think about every challenge you have survived. At the time, each one may have felt unbearable. There were moments when you questioned yourself, moments when you doubted your future, moments when you wondered whether the effort was worth it. Yet somehow you continued. Somehow you adapted. Somehow you found a way forward. Those experiences were not meaningless. Every battle taught you something. Every disappointment added another layer of understanding. Every failure revealed knowledge that success could never provide. Even the wounds you wished had never happened contributed to the person you are becoming. The lessons gained through hardship often remain long after the pain itself has faded. One of the greatest mistakes people make is believing their past defines their future. They carry old failures like permanent labels. They allow previous mistakes to shape their identity. They assume that because something happened to them, it must determine what happens next. But the truth is that experiences only have the power you give them. Pain can become a prison, or it can become a source of wisdom. The difference lies in interpretation. Two people can endure similar struggles and emerge completely different. One allows bitterness to take root. The other chooses growth. One becomes trapped by resentment. The other transforms suffering into strength. The circumstances may be similar, but the outcome depends on how the experience is used. Your struggles contain value that many people overlook. They taught you things that cannot be learned from books alone. They forced you to become resourceful. They encouraged self-awareness. They revealed your weaknesses while simultaneously showing you how to overcome them. Every challenge expanded your capacity in ways that comfort never could. There is also power in understanding that your story carries significance beyond yourself. The obstacles you overcome become proof that transformation is possible. The resilience you develop becomes an example for others. The wisdom gained through hardship allows you to guide people facing similar battles. What once seemed like personal suffering can eventually become a source of inspiration and leadership. Many individuals wait for permission before stepping into greater responsibility. They wait for someone to recognize their potential. They wait for perfect circumstances. They wait until they feel completely ready. Yet leadership rarely begins with certainty. It begins with a decision. It begins when a person accepts ownership of their experiences and chooses to use them constructively. Claiming your legacy means accepting everything that helped shape you, not just the victory, not just the accomplishments. It includes the failures, disappointments, mistakes, and scars. Every chapter contributed to your development. Nothing was wasted if it taught you something valuable. As you embrace this perspective, the meaning of your struggles begins to change. The setbacks that once appeared to hold you back reveal themselves as training. The obstacles that seemed unfair reveal hidden lessons. The pain that once felt pointless begins fitting into a larger picture. You realize that your journey was never solely about surviving difficulty. It was about becoming someone capable of carrying greater responsibility, greater influence, and greater purpose. The experiences that once felt like burdens start becoming assets. The lessons learned through adversity become tools. The strength developed through struggle becomes authority. Instead of being defined by what happened to you, you begin using those experiences as fuel for what comes next. The weight of the past transforms into a foundation upon which a stronger future can be built, and the legacy waiting before. You become something you are finally prepared to claim. Many people dream about power, influence, success, and recognition. They imagine what it would feel like to stand above their circumstances, free from limitations and obstacles. They picture themselves achieving greatness, earning respect, and reaching goals that once seemed impossible. Yet very few people spend enough time thinking about the responsibility that comes with those things. Everyone wants the crown, few are prepared for the weight it carries. True leadership is not about control, it is not about status, titles, or admiration. It is about responsibility. It is about making difficult decisions when easier options exist. It is about remaining focused when distractions are everywhere. It is about maintaining integrity when compromise would provide immediate rewards. The greatest leaders are not defined by how many people follow them. They are defined by how faithfully they carry the responsibilities entrusted to them. Throughout your journey, you have faced challenges that tested your character. Some tested your patience, others tested your courage. Some tested your ability to continue when everything inside you wanted to quit. Looking back, it becomes clear that those moments were preparing you for something larger than personal achievement. They were teaching you how to carry responsibility without being crushed by it. Many people assume leadership begins when others recognize them, begins long before anyone notices. It begins when a person learns to lead themselves. Before you can guide others, you must learn discipline. Before you can inspire confidence, you must develop confidence within yourself. Before you can influence the direction of a group, you must first take ownership of your own direction. This is where many people struggle. They want the rewards associated with leadership, but they resist the discipline required to sustain it. They want influence without accountability. They want authority without responsibility. They want recognition without sacrifice. Yet lasting success is built upon foundations that cannot be avoided. Every meaningful accomplishment requires consistency, commitment, and self-control. As you continue evolving, you begin understanding that destiny is not something handed to you. It is something built through choices. Every decision matters. Every action contributes to the person you are becoming, repeated daily, not by occasional moments of motivation. Small choices accumulate over time until they create extraordinary results. There will always be distractions attempting to pull you away from your purpose. There will always be voices encouraging you to settle for less. Some will doubt your vision because they cannot see what you see. Others will criticize your ambition because it reminds them of opportunities they abandoned. If you allow every opinion to influence your direction, you will spend your life walking in circles. Leadership requires clarity. It requires knowing where you are going even when others do not understand. It requires trusting your values during moments of uncertainty. It requires remaining committed to long-term goals despite temporary discomfort. Those qualities are not developed overnight. They are built through repeated acts of courage and discipline. One of the most important lessons a leader learns is that fear never completely disappears. Many people wait until they feel fearless before taking action. They assume confidence means the absence of doubt. The truth is very different. Courage is moving forward despite uncertainty. Courage is taking responsibility despite fear. Courage is choosing action when hesitation feels safer. Every stage of growth introduces new responsibilities. The stronger you become, the more opportunities appear. The more opportunities appear, the greater your influence becomes. Influence, however, must be handled carefully. It can be used to build or destroy. It can inspire or discourage. It can create positive change or reinforce harmful patterns. Responsibility means understanding the impact your actions have on others and choosing wisely. As your awareness expands, you begin realizing that leadership is not about proving your superiority. It is about serving a purpose larger than yourself. It is about contributing something meaningful. It is about becoming an example of resilience, discipline, integrity, and growth. The most respected leaders are often those who focus less on personal recognition and more on creating value for others. The path ahead will not always be easy. There will be moments when the weight of responsibility feels heavy. There will be times when difficult decisions must be made without guarantees. There will be challenges that test everything you have learned. Yet those moments are not reasons to retreat. They are opportunities to demonstrate the strength you have spent years developing. You have already survived challenges that once seemed impossible. You have already overcome obstacles that could have stopped you. Every lesson, every struggle, every victory has contributed to the person standing here today. The preparation is complete. The excuses have lost their power. The doubts that once controlled your choices no longer deserve authority over your future. And take your place as the architect of the destiny that has been waiting for you all along.